caught a vibe. Baby, are you coming for the ride? I just wanna look into your eyes. I just wanna say.
Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Amara and I am a yoga teacher and soul coach based in Dubai, and welcome to, I think we're going to do a week in my life. We're going to have the regular weekly vlogs back. I need to apologize because I have been trying to vlog for like the past 2 weeks and it's just not been flowing, to be quite honest with you. So I have all of this footage that just is so bitty that I decided just to start a new vlog and do a big old catch up, a few life updates. So yeah, that is kind of the vibe for this vlog. I'm going to take you along with me, chat you through some of the stuff that's been going on, what's happening, why I guess things have been quite busy as well. But yeah, that is very much the vibe. Whilst we are here, one of the things that has been going on is my little kitten has just been spayed, so she is really suffering. Bless her. She's not too bad, but she's definitely had a few very vulnerable days. And if you haven't been here before, her name's Mango and she only actually likes me. She's not having anything to do with my boyfriend. So while she's been ill, it's been a full-time job because she's just absolutely attached to my hip. So I've no doubt that she's going to be peeking in through the vlog this week, but she's just so funny in her little outfit. They never used to put, at least if I remember correctly from when I had cats when I was a kid, this like little jacket thing never used to be a thing, but now I think it's so cute. It's also, I bet, so much more comfortable than having a comb. But that is sort of like the weekend update. I took her to be spayed on, must have been Friday, and bless her, she's not very old, she's only like 4 months, but she was already in heat, so she was just really struggling, bless her. So it's all for the best, but she's definitely had a just weekend of recovery, which is absolutely fine. She's been also sleeping in our bed. So that is the kitten update, which I think you guys must have been here when we first got her as well. So if you haven't watched that vlog, head on back. But what else has been going on? So it is Monday. I'm not actually feeling 100% today. I think I am battling a little bit of a stomach virus. I was feeling a little bit ill last night and just went to bed early. I did have a really early class. I had a 7:30 a.m. class this morning, so it was kind of too late to cancel. So to be honest, I took some pain meds and just got straight there and taught. I wouldn't usually recommend that, but because it was an early class and it was just too late to cancel, I kind of motored on through. But with that being said, I've now come home, I've gotten into my comfies and I'm having a very slow day just to give myself time to shift if there is still anything in my system. I'm actually feeling all right, but it's a little bit peaky. So yeah, that is very much the vibe for the rest of the day. Taught my 7:30 a.m. class actually at a new space, which I'm loving. I will take you along with me to that tomorrow because I have another class there tomorrow evening. Yeah, it's continuing from what I was saying. I recently had one of the classes within my timetable that no longer felt aligned for quite a few reasons, and it was kind of time just to let it fall away and let it run its course and have its time. And I know, like, from the outside looking in, that could feel quite nerve-wracking, but it would just, I was really gracious about it. I just let it kind of run its course. I was like, you know what, this must no longer be in alignment, this must no longer be serving me. And I'm so glad I did, because literally within a week that slot was then filled with a space that feels so much more aligned. And that is the power of following your intuition and sitting in alignment and continuing to trust your alignment. And when it comes to this concept of being in alignment, the more in which you grow, the different your alignment's going to look like, right? So we have to be ready to shift and adapt as we begin to grow. So I feel like I'm just very, very happy at how it's all working out, very grateful. And I always just want to pop that in there of like, alignment is everything. Give yourself grace to shift and move and make mistakes, knowing that it's all leading you towards that alignment. So with that being said, I will take you along for the rest of my very chilled Monday. I did actually get an Indigo Luna order. Can't remember if I've mentioned that already, but I can show you what I got because I am just loving their pieces at the moment. I'm just slowly building my little collection of them, I guess, because they are so comfy. I'm actually wearing one of the tops now because it's just like the perfect cozy chill sick day piece. So yeah, I'll take you along with me. This is my cozy sick day OOTD. The top is Indigo Luna. Honestly, this has just arrived today, so I'll show you the rest of the order that came, but I am obsessed. So comfy. It has a cross back, but also if you watch my other vlog, you will know that you can sort of wear it like two on both sides. You can crisscross it, which I just love. I've been wanting this color for a little while because it's obviously the neutrals, which we know that I live in. And then I'm just wearing these very, very comfy kind of joggery trousers from a Dubai brand called El Couture. I don't tend to buy an awful lot from them, but these are kind of perfect. I love how high-waisted they are, and they're just kind of perfect for a very chill day. Other things that are also new, trying to make sure that I'm in focus here. Fingers crossed I'm in focus. The other thing that is also new is this necklace. I ordered it from a website here in Dubai called Onas, I don't know, but it's from the brand Misoma, and I just love it. I think it's beautiful quality, and it's like the perfect layering necklace. So we are liking the very beachy vibes of the pearly necklace. It's very me. So yes, I might also, oh my gosh, I have so many things to show you. I don't even think I showed you, I did a bit of a haul a few weeks ago, and I don't think I showed you that either. We got so much fun to be had. Just to show you a few of the Indigo Luna pieces that I got. I actually got this scrunchie. I'm obsessed with hair accessories. If there's a scrunchie or a claw clip, I'm gonna buy it. They were like raving about this. They were like, it's the world's best scrunchie. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty good scrunchie for my like big thick hair. It's pretty good. I like it. It's very soft. So it does the job, that's for sure. I then got this little top, which honestly is kind of what inspired the order, because I've had this top on back in stock notifications for a few weeks. So when it was back in stock, that then inspired me to do the order. And then under here is just actually a beach sarong, which is, honestly, it was on sale, and I just thought, you know what, that would be so useful to have because I don't have a neutral colored sarong. All of my sarongs are quite like brightly colored, and obviously neutrals go with everything. And then I have the I think it's the Agni cross top, which I showed you. It's what I'm wearing today. And then I also bought I think it's the flow top. I'm going to show it to you. I have it on now. Forgive the mess on the bed, but this is the other thing that I got. I think it's called the flow top. It used to be their Kundalini collection, but they changed the name. And to be honest, it's a bit of a rogue, not a rogue purchase. I actually really like it. But it's like a linen cross top, and I thought this would be really nice for like going to the beach in the morning. It does tighten up, so yeah, you can like cinch it in like this, and I do really like it. So for this top, it originally was like really cropped, so it would have been like up here, which is not really my vibe. I like the sort of down to the belly button kind of crop. That's my vibe. And even this is a little bit higher than I would have liked. They said that so this is in a medium large. I think I usually wear a extra small in Indigo Luna, but they said if you wanted it longer to size up, so I did size up to a, not really in there, I did size up to a medium large, and in all honesty I could have done the extra large because I think it would have been even longer. But I do like this, and I think it's going to be really nice for just chucking over leggings as it gets a bit hotter in Dubai, because I do just like to have things to chuck over my sports bra so that I'm just a bit more covered. And it's also just going to be nice, I think, with a pair of shorts, going to the beach, put it over your bikini top. So that was very much the idea behind this, and I do really like it. And then obviously underneath I have that Agni crop top that you saw me in just before when I said if you do love these pieces too, I do also have a discount code for Indigo Luna. It is Amara Love, and it gets you 10% off. So if you are loving all of these sort of earthy yogi vibes, I cannot express to you, first of all, how comfy they are, and also how well they wash. I think when it comes to natural materials, they tend to wash so much better than synthetic materials. So I'm just obsessed. So if you want to give them a go, if you want to try them out, my discount code is there. It's Amara Love. It gets you 10% off. But otherwise, I'm gonna make Hello guys, here we are after another failed vlog attempt. I promise you when I say that there is a lot going on and I'm finding it tricky to vlog, trust me, there is a lot going on, and it's actually not just my stuff, which is why it's not going in the vlogs, because you know, if I was personally just going through stuff, I'd be more inclined to share it here, but it's not just my stuff. There are other people involved and people I love and this, that, and the other. So there's just a lot of stuff going on at the moment. Nothing bad, but just a lot. So last week did its thing, life lifed. If you are watching this when it goes up, we had like the Aries new moon and solar eclipse. We then had Mercury retrograde. We've then got the beginning of eclipse season. Like there is so much going on at the moment. And you know what, the energies are following. I feel like I've been feeling those energies since before the new moon as well, if I'm honest. I thought of, instead of scrapping what footage I got last week, that I would just come and sit and do a bit of a update you on what I can update you on, a bit of a life catch up. I did also ask you guys if you had any questions on Instagram, so I could sit and answer some of your questions, just so we do have an upload. And then I also started a new vlog today, and I am gonna have the space now to take you along with me. So I've started a new vlog today too, which then just means that I can take you along and we're back to normal. So with that being said, let's get into a bit of a, I guess, personal update on what's been kind of going on, where I've been. The first thing, I think I've already mentioned this, but there has been a lot going on both in my life and in the people I love's life, and there's just been a lot. There's been a lot. It's been a lot. But with that being said, I have actually been really just leaning into everything that has been happening recently, and I feel like, I'm gonna say this tentatively, but I feel like I'm going through a bit of a flop era. I hate saying that, but I feel like I'm going through a flop era. For those of you who maybe aren't down with Gen Z, we flop and slay era, right? Like ebb and flow. I feel like I'm in an ebb, I feel like I'm in a low, I feel like I'm in a flop, I'm in a flop era. Which actually, you know what? Just through admitting that I feel like I'm in a bit of a flop era has made me feel more excited, because after every flop era is a slay era. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna admit that I'm feeling like I'm in a little bit of a flop. And you know what? Sometimes I really struggle to share things like that on social media, because I so know that, firstly, from the outside looking in, it wouldn't look that way at all, but I actually then think it's so important that I share things like this. But I also am very, very aware that what looks like a flop era for me is someone else's dream life, most likely, and I'm so aware of that. So I'm very tentative to say things like that, but also that is my experience, and I'm always trying to grow and just become the best version of myself. And I do feel like I've been going through a little bit of this flop era vibe, and I don't really know, I do know why. There's a lot going on, but I feel like it's just time to admit it, because when you are really, really honest with yourself about these things, because you know what, when you are really, really honest with yourself about these things, it's then that you can begin to change these things, right? And I think I was definitely in a, not denial, but definitely like giving myself so much grace, which is such a good thing. But it kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what, I think it's just time to admit that I am feeling like I'm going through a little bit of a flop. I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I'm struggling to do the routines that I love. I'm struggling to like nourish my body the way I want to be nourishing my body. I'm not feeling under control. I feel like I'm just kind of surviving and not living sometimes, and I have so much to live for. I have such a beautiful life, and I'm so grateful, so grateful. But I do feel like I've been going through a little bit of a flop era, not really looking after myself, not maybe striving for things and things like that. So that is very much where I've kind of been. I've also been very much within my own personal practice. I feel like I've been really going on you know what, I'm gonna share. I'm actually gonna be completely candid here, which I usually am, but there are some things I do keep very much for me, and I think that's actually a really good thing. I don't think you ever need to share everything on social media. So always do know that when you are watching me, there is so much I am willing to share, and I am so open, but in the most loving way possible. You don't probably know the full extent of things that are going on behind the scenes, and that is because I do just feel like everyone is allowed to have their boundaries, and everyone should have boundaries, because I can only share from things once I've allowed myself to go through them and heal from them and all of those things as well. So quite often what I do is I will keep the process inwards, and then when I feel ready to share the lesson I've learned, I will then share it outwards. You will eventually hear about these things anyway, but quite often I won't necessarily share when I'm going through them. Hence why vlogging has been so tricky recently, because I'm going through them, right? But yeah, within my personal practice, I was definitely feeling as if I wasn't being challenged. I feel like I was really, and actually not just in my personal practice, I feel like the things I see within my personal yoga practice tend to be a reflection of what I'm experiencing within my life. So I feel like I was coming to my yoga mat with not a lot of purpose. I feel like I wasn't really challenging myself. I was also just not finding that drive as much to come to my mat. And don't get me wrong, I was still loving my practice. I was still practicing, but it wasn't, I don't know, it was lacking something. And I just feel like I am having such a deep call to go deeper. I don't know if that makes sense, but for those of you who've watched me for a while, you'll know that I am by no means a shallow person. I am so deeply spiritual, and I do have so many practices around this, and that is me, right? Like, but I am feeling this just like inner intuitive call to go so much deeper into my own healing, into my own journey, and just trust that that's going to make me a better teacher. And I'm already so happy with my teaching now, but it can be better, it can be deeper, and I just really feel like it is a time of integration is upon us. And I know I use that word a lot, but I also feel it's a time of establishing, of growing, of stepping up and stepping in. And I think that is very much a theme that has been going on, that I've been sort of having kind of tap dancing in the back of my mind. And I've definitely been not really sure what to do with it. It's a weird place to be in, and that's one thing about being self-employed, is that you don't really have anyone to answer to. So work-wise, I'm just like, I can do whatever I want, which I love, but sometimes it's great to have someone to answer to because they challenge you. So I've had to be quite self-aware in that sense. But yeah, I think that's something I've been really going through, is I just feel like I'm being asked to step up. And this is an internal feel, it's like an intuitive call to step up, to go deeper, to just take everything deeper, which I'm just so excited about. It means that I have recommitted to my yoga practice in going to in-person classes and finding teachers that really get me really nice and deep. I've been going to a level 1 to 2 dynamic vinyasa class every week, and that has just been fantastic because the teacher just pushes me perfectly. He pushes me so well. And I feel like we have an ongoing thing at the moment where he just knows that I don't know how strong I am, and will just keep pushing me until I fall over, and then I know where my actual limit is, which I love actually, and it feels like a really safe space. I think I needed some more of that. I've also made the decision that I am coming back to a very devoted daily practice of meditation, of EFT, and yoga practice. So for those of you who don't know what EFT, I feel like I don't actually know what it translates to, but it is basically tapping on meridian lines, so like this, and it helps to release any stored emotions and tension that's being stored within the nervous system. So I'm really gonna bring that into my daily rituals, which I've been loving. And I'm just making a real promise to myself to come back to my devoted practices of self, right? Because I feel like I'm so devoted to my job, and this is where I guess I can talk more generally as a yoga teacher, but I don't actually know if this is the case for all yoga teachers. Now, I am a yoga teacher for the students, and because it's my job and because it's my career, but I am also a yoga teacher for me. Like, that's who I am. Like, I am yoga to my core. Like, it's so much more than just a job to me. And so every time I'm teaching, that's still a part of my healing process. That's still an act of service to myself as well. So when I'm thinking about developing as a yogi, as much as I'm thinking, oh, it's going to make me a better yoga teacher, it's also going to make me a better yogi for me, right? So it just is all intertwined. As much as my work is my work, it's also me. It's so deeply embodied in who I am, and I firmly do believe it's my dharma, it's my purpose, and I am so inherently linked and tied to that purpose. And the more I dive into myself personally, it just reflects within my teaching, and I hope that makes sense. And this might be different for others. Some people are really able to have that, this is my job and this is who I am outside of my job, but for me with yoga, I just haven't been able to find that, and it's a good thing. I love it. It doesn't mean that I struggle to balance work and life. It just means that everything is just so within me, which I actually really, really love. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on with me, is I've just been feeling like I'm in a bit of a flop era. I feel like I haven't been looking after myself. I don't have a routine. I just feel like I have been, and you know when you have, sorry, this is so rambly, but you know when you have one of those bad days and they just keep going, right? And they just keep snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. I have not had days like that in what feels like years until recently, where I've just woken up in a bad energy and it's snowballing. And I know it's happening. I'm self-aware enough to be like, this is my energy calling this in. Like, this is not anything other than my energy. But I'm like, okay, we need to shift this. We are in need of a massive pivot and a massive turn. And my goodness, did I get that recently? All is going to become so clear with what's been going on over the next couple of months, so I don't even need to say it now. But it has made me really sit and think about what my priorities are personally, but also within my career. It has made me really sit down and think about what I want. And in some ways, and it's the first time I'm saying this out loud, in some ways, I guess it's exactly what I needed. I was going through a flop and I needed someone to, or I needed an event to get my priorities in place, right? So that's kind of what's been going on recently. That's my updates. Along with those updates, there has been just a through sitting and deciding what my next steps are and where I'm going next and what the plan is. This online space is the priority, and I'm sure I've said that on here before, but it really, really is, right? Like, I will be showing up here far more consistently, and this is the last of weeks and weeks going by, because I love my online space and this is the space that is truly my priority. So that's exciting. If you aren't already subscribed, subscribe below, because I'm going to be here all the time now. So yeah, that is also something. With that being said, let me go into some of the questions that you guys asked me. So I did actually ask you if you had any questions for this little catch up. And I just thought I'd go through and answer some of them. I also put in some of my most frequently asked questions as well. I haven't actually answered in vlogs previously, so I thought I would put them in. So the first question was, hi Mara, did your back pain heal when you started yoga, or did you do something else? So I think this comes from my yoga journey video, where I mentioned that the reason I started yoga is because I was suffering from back pain. Now, my back pain was purely caused by muscular tension. So mine was a sort of accumulation of emotions that were turning into tension that was then being stored within my back. So accumulation of stress, of anxiety, of a lot going on at that point. And it was being stored within the body, specifically within my back. So I didn't have anything like scoliosis or slip discs or anything like that. Even if you do have that, yoga can absolutely help. But for me, it was purely like an energetic, like tension being stored within the body. So for me, yoga literally helped within one session, right? And obviously a consistent practice is the best thing for it. But yoga has been created to move energy around the body, and quite often a lot of the tension that we feel isn't due to an injury, it's due to our energy, right? So whether it be stress, anxiety, emotions, trauma, it can be stored within the body. And this is something that I've been really exploring actually in more depth as a teacher recently, all around somatic movement and how that applies to the yin practice and how we begin to include that in the way that I teach. But that is something in itself. But yes, that's definitely something that I have been just thinking about recently. The next question was all around a career in yoga and financial stability. Now, first things first, whenever I have questions about careers in yoga, I always want to say that I actually do run a yoga teacher mentorship. Now, the portal for the yoga teacher mentorship is now currently open, so we will have another enrollment starting probably around September. So if you are wanting to make the transition to teaching yoga as a career and you have all of these questions and you want a clear guide on how to do so, and you want support and to be shown all of the things you need to think about, I really recommend having a little look at that. I can always link it below. But as I said, we won't be going live on our next one until after the summer, so just stay updated. I'm sure I will share something here. But on that question of is a career in yoga around financial stability, now I feel like what I need to say with this is when it comes to anything that is not a salaried job, so if you are running your own business in any capacity, whether it be as a cafe owner or a freelancer in any other kind, there is obviously going to be a very different feeling around financial stability compared to if you're on a salaried 9-to-5. That, I think, kind of goes without saying. It's not the same, because whether you show up to work or not kind of does make a difference. Like, you are the one in charge of making sure you make money. It's not just about doing your 9-to-5 and going home. So definitely in that sense, you do have to think a little bit more about financial stability as a yoga teacher, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible. I know at the beginning it can be really helpful to consider. It's always good to have savings put aside, because yoga teaching can be quite, I don't want to say transient, but you will have clients come and go, right? You might have a private client for 3 months and then they go for a month, and you have a month in between where you don't quite fill that private slot, and then the next month someone else fills it. So you want to make sure that you have enough to either within savings or within your other income streams to allow you to have that fluidity and the fact that sometimes clients can be transient. I also think that it's really, really important as a yoga teacher that you diversify your income. So you should have loads of different income streams. And again, this is something that I talk about on the yoga teacher mentorship. So if this is something you're interested in, pop me a message and I can let you know when the next one goes live, because honestly, we discuss all of this in there. But I also do think that the eventual aim as a full-time yoga teacher who has this as a career should be to be in ownership of your own income, right? So not to be reliant on studios or other people for your income. So whether that means creating your own spaces, whether that means having online, whether that means running your own events, like you want to be fully in control of at least a good proportion of your income eventually, because what that means is that you are then in control of your financial stability, right? Obviously, with that being said, I know that there are in some spaces the option to go on a more salaried role as a yoga teacher. That is 100% possible, and I know quite a few teachers who are on more of a salaried role, and maybe they're hired full-time or part-time by a studio and it's more of a salaried role. So that's also possible. You can be a yoga teacher without necessarily being a yoga teacher who has their own business and has a career in it. So I hope that makes sense. But when it comes to financial stability, it's absolutely possible, but you need to enjoy the business side of yoga, right? Like, becoming a yoga teacher is not just teaching yoga as well. Becoming a full-time yoga teacher who has it as a career is not just teaching yoga, it's creating your own yoga business. And I think that is where you create financial stability, is when you actually start to treat it like a business. But obviously within the early stages, as with any other business, financial stability is not going to be the same as a 9-to-5 job, but there are so many ways in which you can compensate for this and you can plan for this, and it is by no means impossible. It's so possible, and there is always a way. And if that is really, really your dream, it's 100% possible. You may sit with that and think, you know what, financial stability is my number one most important thing, so maybe I wouldn't enjoy a job as a full-time yoga teacher. That's also okay, right? So I just want to put that out there of it's absolutely possible, but I would always recommend, as a yoga teacher, I always want to have savings put aside just in case something happens and maybe I have a few less clients one month. I should be able to compensate with that with my other forms of income, but also any savings I have put aside. Cool. Moving on to the next question that came through. Okay, the next question was, I get nervous about teaching and not being able to do and demo a lot of the advanced poses. Do you have any advice? First of all, I love this question. I think it's such a good one, and you do not need to be able to do every single pose to be a good teacher. I think you would, apart from David Swenson, I think you would find it really, really hard to find a teacher that can do every single pose, because they can't, right? You are always going to have areas within your practice that you're more confident in and feel easier for you. You're always going to have areas in your practice that feel harder for you. So even this idea of advanced poses, what's advanced for me might actually be really, really easy for you. So for example, someone might consider advanced a really deep back bend. Within my practice, that's pretty easy, right? You may consider I might consider a handstand to be really advanced, but if someone's a gymnast, they're like, oh, that's easy. That's not an advanced pose, right? So there is no such thing as advanced poses within yoga, and I think we really need to remove that from our mind. Obviously, as a teacher, we can feel a little bit insecure sometimes, but remember, it's not about you. It's really not about you, and it's not actually about what you can do on your mat. Now, I will always caveat this and say that as a teacher, and this is because I have a background in teaching yoga teacher trainings, as a teacher, your alignment should be very, very good. You do need to have good alignment, right? And as a teacher, you also need to be physically fit enough to lead a class. I will say those two things. You need to have correct alignment. You don't want to be demoing with poor alignment, and you need to have the physical endurance to be teaching a class. However, you do not need to be able to do every pose. First things first is people are not coming to the practice of yoga really for the poses. They're coming for the way it feels. So what I would really, really encourage you to do is to think about, am I just teaching poses, or am I teaching yoga experience? Am I teaching a life lesson? Am I teaching the philosophy? Because the more you begin to take the focus away from the poses, the more confident you are going to feel. Again, this is something I chat about within the Yoga Teacher Mentorship. So if you're wanting to dive deeper into becoming a really impactful teacher, that might be something you're interested later on this year. But really think about, am I planning with maybe themes that my students can relate to, rather than just, oh, this class is a headstand class, or this class is a crow class. Because actually these peak poses aren't giving our students an awful lot, and especially if they're peak poses that we find challenging, they're only making us feel insecure. Now, when I am teaching classes, and you're teaching an all levels class, which in a lot of ways is some of the most challenging classes to teach, you don't need to be able to demo everything, right? I've had people in my classes who are ex-gymnasts. Anyone who has never practiced with me, I'm not an ex-gymnast. I have a very well-rounded practice, but I'm also not the strongest at arm balances and inversions. They've gotten a lot better. If you looked at my practice now, you may not even tell that they're not my strong area, but they're not my strongest area. They're also not the part of the practice I maybe enjoy the most. That doesn't mean that I can't give my students the option to take it. So for example, a cue I might give coming into standing splits is option to stay here, option to kick up to a handstand if it's in your practice. I don't have to demo how to kick up into a handstand. I just give them the option to do so if it's within their practice. So that can be a very good way to cater to students who have a more, maybe a stronger practice. I don't want to even say advanced, because there is no such thing as an advanced yoga practice. There's also no such thing as being good at yoga. So yeah, that's something you could definitely offer, is like alternatives and variations and options for people to take their practice deeper. Obviously, if there is a pose that you cannot do, you're not really going to teach this. So for example, if you can't do a crow pose, there is no point you trying to teach someone else to do a crow pose. But if you have someone in your class that can already do a crow pose, give them the option to take it. I hope that makes sense. So I'm not going to sit down and work everyone through the drills to crow pose if I can't do it myself, right? I'm not going to ask them to do like a crazy transition in crow if I can't do it myself. But what I can do is I can set them up to start practicing crow. And for those who can do crow already, I'm going to say, okay, if those of you are confident, off you go. Everyone else, stay with me. If you ever jump back in your practice, feel free to take it. Otherwise, you stay with me. Does that make sense? So you don't need to be able to demo or even do all of these poses to be a fantastic teacher and also to cater to those students. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that puts your mind at ease a little bit. I promise you that a lot of times people are not coming to your class because of the poses, and they're not really even coming for you. They're coming for the practice, right? So how can you be delivering a practice that is so much deeper than postures? Because I can go to a class that does not challenge me at all, but as long as I'm getting something deeper, I feel like it's worth my money, and I feel like it's worth my time, and I've had a yoga practice. So it's really not about these more advanced poses. It's about, are you teaching yoga or are you teaching asana, right? Are you just teaching poses with no philosophy, or are you teaching an entire experience of yoga? Because if you were teaching an entire experience of yoga, there is less emphasis on really strong poses or whatever you consider to be more advanced poses, right? I hope that makes sense. And obviously the more you begin to become stronger or more flexible within your own practice, that increases the amount of poses you feel confident teaching. But until then, that doesn't mean you can't teach. You have everything you need to start teaching right now. And also remember that you're not going to be everyone's teacher, right? So if there is someone, for example, who wants a handstand class and you're like, I can't do a handstand, you're not their teacher. That's okay. You're someone else's teacher. That's fine, right? You're never going to be everyone's teacher, so stop trying. Okay, the next question. I'm going to try and whiz through these because I feel like this is actually taking a little bit longer than I expected. Last question was actually a very random one, but I liked it, was the pros and cons of living in Dubai. So if you're new here, I have been living in Dubai for almost 2 years now, and this is where I have been doing my career as a yoga teacher and this, that, and the other. So pros and cons of living in Dubai. I feel like I'll only go through a few, but I do absolutely love my life here. I think that should be said. If I'm having the best time, I do love my life here. I would say that the pros are, oh my goodness, everything is so convenient, everything is so quick, maybe to a fault, because like if I wanted to order something from the shop, it would be here within 15 minutes, which I love, but it makes me a little bit lazy, I bet. So yeah, I'd say that that's definitely a pro, is the convenience. I guess in another way, the weather the winter weather here is beautiful. The summer weather is horrific. Like, it's so hot, it's awful. And that comes from someone who is from the Caribbean. So I'm used to hot weather, but Dubai summer is another level. But I would say for the most part, the weather is a good thing apart from the summer. I think the biggest pro for me within Dubai is just the outlook of everyone. Everyone is very revolutionary and innovative, and you're really praised for thinking outside of the box. You're really praised for stepping out of your comfort zone, for doing something different and new. And I know that that's not always the case in other spaces, so I love that about Dubai. And I guess another one would be the opportunities. There's so many opportunities here, which I love. I really, really do love. Some of the cons of living in Dubai, I'm really whizzing through these. I'd say the biggest con is there's just no nature. Like, there's very little nature, like very few trees that are actually like planted there real, because you're in the desert, right? And you're in a city, so there really isn't a lot of access to nature and feeling grounded. And for that reason, I do actually find it very hard to stay grounded within Dubai. I have to be very conscious about it. I'd also say it's very, very fast paced sometimes. So it can feel a little bit like you're getting left behind at times if you aren't constantly doing. There's a lot of doing energy here. And I would say one of the big things is that it's very expensive within Dubai. That is another, I'd say, con, is that it is very expensive, but the pro is usually within Dubai you get paid a little bit more because the cost of living is more. So it's sort of by the by with that one. But yeah, I'd say that I can obviously do an entire video on that if that's something that you're interested in, but just off the top of my head, that is what I would say are the pros and cons of living here. But I do love my time here, it's great. So yeah, I think that's actually going to be all for today's little catch-up video. If you did have any questions, pop them below, but I am very excited to be back vlogging this week, and I will see you in that weekly vlog next week. If you are new here, like and subscribe below. There's going to be a lot more going on here on this YouTube channel going forwards, and I just want to say that I'm sending you so much love. Thank you for being here, and I will see you very soon. Bye guys.